What's up, family? This is Mikey from the band Islander, and you're watching Good Company.
Hey guys, my name's Scott Bowling, and today I'm with this guy, Mikey from Islander. Islander is a band that has different sounds. I mean, they're heavy, they got some punk rock influences, just a whole slew of different kind of stuff. Anyway, I got to see them open up for Korn a few years ago, and also they got a new song called Summer, which we're going to get to hear more about in a minute, man. So appreciate you being here, brother.
Dude, thanks for having me.
That's awesome, man. So yeah, I got to see you guys open up for Korn, man. That's kind of how I got, how I found out about your band. It was really cool. What's that like being on the road with them, man?
Dude, it's awesome. They're kind of like family members to us. They've supported us since, I guess, like our first mainstream tour. We were on Mayhem Festival with them in 2014, and they started coming out to the stage every single day. And at first we were really intimidated because we're like, oh my goodness, this is Korn, like watching us. And like the more we got to know them, we're like, okay, Korn's a bunch of goofballs. Dude, like I love those guys to death. I have nothing but respect for them. They've just been nothing but awesome
cool.
to us.
And you guys were also with, was it Suicide Silence? They were on that bill too, or that must have been real cool too.
Yeah, that was it was Korn's 20th anniversary tour for their debut record. So they brought us and Suicide Silence out, and it was rad, man. I love both of those bands and hanging out with them, and it was cool. We all had a little bit different styles, on the tour. I mean, it was all heavy and aggressive, but I think all three bands had something different to offer, and those are my favorite kind of tours.
Man, kind of like, you guys started around 2011, is that right?
Right.
In that area? So man, I mean, from 2011 to now, I mean, that's kind of a short time to like just, you guys kind of shot out, man. I mean, you guys, you know a lot of bands, and so that's really cool. Yeah. Your first EP, I guess, was The Side Effects of Youth, is that right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that, man. How did that get started?
It was basically, I used to be in a band called Before Normandy with some local cats back in Greenville, South Carolina. That's where we're from. So we had been playing like local shows. We played like skate parks and all that kind of stuff, and kind of just like learning how to be in a local band or whatever. And then we would go out every once in a while on the weekends, and eventually we all kind of dispersed from that band, and I went to college. Some of the other guys moved to different towns, and I got married and whatnot. And like a year into, I guess, after I got married, I was on my last year of college, and some of the guys were moving back to town, and we decided that we should start playing music for fun again, but we didn't want to be the same band. We were just like, let's just do something different. We'll just do it for fun. It'll be like super heavy. All we were listening to at the time was like Zayo and like just a lot of heavy bands. And I remember when we first got together and started rehearsing, it just started turning more into like, instead of this being super heavy, like or whatever, I know there's like a lot of heavy stuff in our music, we started having some melody and whatnot. And it started doing the same thing that it always did. I'd be like, well, let's do like a big chorus right there or whatever. And so,
did you do big choruses previously, or was this like a new thing?
No,
trying to get more melodic?
No, it's always been something like my favorite type of music in the whole world is like new wave and synth pop music, like
awesome.
Depeche Mode, Joy Electric, all that kind of stuff. That's the world that I'm kind of like. I just love sitting around listening to that music. As far as heavy music goes, it's something that I've always liked experiencing live, and I used to go see. When Norma Jean still had Josh Scoggin in the band. He's now in a band called 68, and he used to be in the Chariot. That was a big influence on me as far as going and seeing like a live band and experiencing that, and not just being, somebody watching a show as like a spectator, but participating in the show and then making it about the band, like not about the band, but more about the fans. And POD did the same, and those were the bands I started seeing live, and I was just like, dude, I want to do this. I want to do this for my life. And so
you had the first album, you had The Side Effects of Youth, and was that like, were you guys just like going to cut a few songs and Did you release that on CD and stuff? Because that's a hard album to find.
Yeah, dude, we released it on CD. There was like, I want to say 200 copies, maybe 150. I can't remember. It was.
So you were you like guys like, oh, this is the beginning, man. We're only gonna go uphill, or is this like?
It was just, we didn't know. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, we were just doing it for fun. We thought, hey, it'd be cool if we could, you know, play our hometown and be like one of the like more prominent bands in our hometown again, and all that kind of stuff. And
So then after that, how long was the gap between that and Pains? That was your second EP, right? I
Yeah.
got the record right here.
yeah, dude.
So that's tight, man.
This
It's
one,
on vinyl too.
yeah, dude. This one came out. Maybe it was a year, I think, after we released Side Effects of Youth. We recorded that one in like I don't even want to say it was a month. Like, we wrote and recorded it in like just a little under a month, I believe. And
Wow.
we got HR from Bad Brains on that record.
Yeah.
The first or the EP, I don't know if you can call it a record, but I don't know the rules anymore. To me, if it's on a record, it's a record. But our first EP, Side Effects of Youth, going back to that one, we got Sonny from POD to guest on it, and that was like huge for us.
How'd you hook up with that guy, man?
When I was 13, I started going to their shows all the time, and I was just a fan, and they started just meaning a lot to me, as far as even more so than the music. I was hearing what they were having to say on and off the stage, and whenever they would see me in town or whatever, they would just say, hey, come eat with us or do whatever, hang out. It was more like family than like being a fan of a band. So they were my friends, and I just kept in contact with Sonny over the years. And
That's tight.
yeah, dude, he was just a huge supporter of the band from the very beginning, giving us advice on, you know, record labels, all that kind of stuff. So.
And back then, man, you guys were like really heavy, man, too. That surprises me, because I've kind of gone backwards in your catalog, you know, and I'm like, man, they were like brutal, man, back in the day.
Yeah, we were. What that came from was like, some of the songs started having more melody in them, but it was like, again, we first started, we were like, let's just be heavy. There's not going to be any clean vocals or anything. And then, of course, first practice happened, and it was like, screw it, we'll just do what we want. And that's where we started kind of drifting away from just trying to like write crazy riffs or whatever. And really, it's funny because people get mad. They're like, oh, when bands stop being heavy. Yeah. It's like, dude, like, I think in a way we're heavier than we were, because like our live show, there's dynamics now, and like in our music, there's dynamics. And I feel like the heavier parts are heavier because we know how to lead into them better and stuff. And I think, you know, sometimes, you know, we'll see bands that they're just heavy the whole time, and it almost gets not heavy after a while, because you're just like, okay, like I get it.
Same.
Yeah.
So after this, you guys had your next record, man, Violence and Destruction, right? Mm-hmm. So you guys are signed now, right? Mm-hmm.
We were signed. I'll tell you a funny story.
Yeah.
We were signed. This one came out before we were signed, but then it came out like for real once we were signed, because we did like a release show and everything, but it was on a download card, and we had this album cover made. Like, my cousin took this picture in somewhere in New York. It was after the whole hurricane or whatever, and he had posted on Instagram, and I just grabbed it and like made it into like a cover of the album. And after we got signed, we ended up selling that EP to the label, and then they put it out.
Okay.
So we were signed on that one,
That's
and
tight.
then this is our first full length.
So this was, who signed you again? Was it Victory?
Yeah.
That's cool. I love this album, man, by the way. It's like such a step up between Pains and this one, man. Just, it's so catchy, and every song is really, really good, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And this was from you had your first music video off this, right? Was it Coconut Dracula?
Yeah. Well, our first music video was off of Side Effects of Youth. I did I shot a music video. It was actually the one with Sonny on it. It's called Death is the Shepherd, and it's basically like a hood rap video. Like, we went in somebody's basement. I had a DSLR camera. I knew that if I could film everybody playing to the parts, I could match it up. And then POD was in town, so we went into the basement of the venue, and Sonny shot his parts in the basement, and I just threw it together real quick, and we called it a music video. But as far as like the first time we were ever like, you know, we had a budget or anything like that, it was definitely Coconut Dracula and New Wave. We shot those
That's great.
in a weekend. I
Yeah.
can't remember which one we shot first, but
What was the writing like between Pains and this one? Because lyrically, it just seems like really strong lyrics. Man, does that take you a long time to write stuff like that? Or, I mean, do you write lyrics, or do you have does everybody come up with this?
I write all the lyrics.
Wow.
I'm always down to hear, if somebody has an idea in the band or whatever, or something like that. And there's been times where, like on our Power Under Control album, where somebody had an idea for a chorus, but ultimately, like all the vocals and lyrics, I write all that stuff. And it doesn't. I wouldn't say it like takes me a super long time. It's just I have to go to a certain place in my head to be able to write, and it's really stressful. Like, I don't like recording. I hate it, actually. I'm more of the live music kind of guy. Because, like, when you're in a vocal booth and you're sitting there screaming at a microphone and you're drinking your water bottle, and then you get to go to lunch, and you get to come back and go in your vocal booth and scream in the microphone again, and there's just something where you're like, dude, this doesn't
Takes away
feel...
the energy.
Yeah, it doesn't feel rock and roll. It's
Right.
like... Growing up, the reason I fell in love with punk rock music and this life or whatever was the mentality that was happening at the live shows, and I guess that recording is just a necessary evil to get to the live show. So I love creating, but it's just recording. It's like throwing you under a microscope, you know.
So when does the band present all the music to you before you guys hit the studio and be like, here's our music? Go off and write? Or you just gonna do it all in a room?
We sit in a room, and like the guitar player will just sit there and kind of he'll doodle on guitar, or I'll have something, and usually if I have something, I'll hand it over to them, and I'm like, Febreze it. That's what I always say. I can say Febreze this, because I can doodle, but I can't like play like perfect or whatever.
Right.
And what I'll usually do is I'll hear Eric play a part on guitar or something, and I'm just like, okay, and I'm like, keep doing that, like do that like 4 times, and then the other thing will be the chorus, and he's like, which part's the chorus? And I'm just like, that's the chorus right there, and they're just kind of like, I thought it was the verse, and I'm like, no, that's going to be the chorus. And so
I like your in this album, I really like your message. It seems real positive, like Cold Speak, for example. I really like that, man. What was your kind of direction? You're like, I'm gonna start writing Christian lyrics or just positive lyrics, or how you're feeling?
No, it just comes down to how I'm feeling. Like I'm a born again Christian, but in no way are we a Christian band or a non-Christian band. Everybody always wants to be like, so you're a Christian band, or you're a non-Christian band, or you're a band with Christians in it, but you're not Christian. I'm like, it's none of that. It's like, the way I always explain it is like, when you go to an Italian restaurant, you don't want Christian Italian or non-Christian Italian. You just want some good spaghetti. And all I'm trying to do is make some good spaghetti.
Absolutely.
That's it. There's nothing more to it. There's not an whatever is inside of me is what comes out. Like Me Without You, that band, they have a lyric that says a glass can only spill what it contains. And that's what I believe. I believe that this is what's inside of me. I have faith in Christ, and that's going to affect my whole worldview. So it's not like we sit there and write songs and we're like, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just going to affect my worldview from how I view everything, And as far as violence and destruction goes, it was supposed to be like a message. Because in the book of Jeremiah, there's all this stuff in the Bible. It's basically, he says, anytime that I open my mouth, the words fall out violence and destruction. Basically, like, I'm warning everybody of this coming disaster, or the truth, or whatever. Like I want people to turn from their wicked ways. And instead, it's like every time he says those things, everybody thinks he's crazy. And like it's like, well, man, like I keep warning everybody and they think I'm crazy. But he says if I hold it inside, it burns in my bones like fire. So it's like, I don't want to burn inside like fire. I don't want to burn up from my insides out. I want to just let all that fire out and be like, this is what I'm talking about. But not in a hateful way, because like you're saying, it's very positive. It's a loving album. But I think that's what love is. I think that when your friend's got a booger in their nose, you tell them.
Yeah.
And
Just let me know.
yeah, that's all it's to it. It's not me saying I'm right, you're wrong, any of that. The whole album is just saying, hey, there's something wrong with the world. I think everybody can look around and figure that out. And let's find the truth together. Let's find what is true. And you don't have to believe a certain way to like our music. I don't think that's the case at all.
Where'd you guys record that album at, man?
We recorded it at NRG in North Hollywood and in Santa Ana at Maple Sound Studios.
Wow.
The producer was Cameron Webb. He's worked with Motorhead. He won a Grammy with Kelly Clarkson. He's worked with Weezer, Limp Bizkit. He's just all over the place.
Mm-hmm. So when you guys had this album, is this when you were kind of touring with, like, you kind of got up there with like the Korn and other bigger bands like that? What was that like, kind of making that, start opening for bigger bands as far as being from your garage band kind of thing?
It was weird because, like, I remember the day that we were leaving California. It was the last day of recording. We were about to fly home. We found out that we were going to be touring with Korn and Avenged Sevenfold on the Mayhem Festival, and we were like, this is crazy. And once we got there, I remember it was the first day. We hadn't even stepped on stage yet, and our single, Coconut Dracula, had already gone to top 40 on the mainstream rock charts. And we were just all like, what does this even mean? Like, I don't get it. And so that day, I remember I ran into Philly, and that's when he told me, he's like, dude, he's like, you're the guys that sing Coconut Dracula. He was like, every time that song's on in my truck, he's like, I turn it up because that bass line's so freaking sick.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, this is crazy. And my whole world was
I bet your bass player was like, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I did that.
Yeah, so it was nuts, man. We went out there. That was the tour that kind of, we made a lot of connections with, Avenged Sevenfold, with Korn, and we were out there with Cannibal Corpse. And like, yeah, dude, like we were out there with all these crazy
How'd their
bands.
fans like take you guys?
Dude, I think people liked it. I know that we were.
Do you pick your heaviest songs? You're like, I gotta go out with
No, we.
your first album.
Dude, we didn't know. Yeah, we didn't know because we were just like, let's just play our stuff. We knew that our live show was energetic because like I said, we've always been about including the crowd. If they're not a part of what we're doing, we're just practicing. Mm-hmm. That's all that is. So I'm always out in the crowd, or I'm trying to get everybody on stage. So in that way, I think we came off heavier sometimes than the heavy bands, because like I said, like once somebody's yelled something so much, it almost starts just being white noise. But it's kind of like when you're in your house and the refrigerator's running, and you don't know it, and it goes off.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you notice.
Like
I feel like we were kind of that band on the tour, because there was dynamics, and there was, it would be chaotic for a second, and then it would be tone it down like to a song on New Wave or something. Yeah. And I know that for us, we never felt any pushback really from the fans or anything like that. More than anything, we felt everybody like, getting energy from that, because I listen to bands that just scream all the time, but I just know for us, it was different, because I remember even Head told me one time, this is when I was first getting to know him, he said, I think about a lot of times, like when the day is done for Korn, when Korn finally goes home and says, it's been good. He said, I don't know what bands are going to be like arena bands, because there's not bands putting out like songs with big choruses all the time or whatnot. And he said that he saw us, and that's what kind of drew him to us. And he went and bought our record and everything. And he was like, I see you guys being like an arena band that can headline these festivals, because they're always talking about who's going to headline when all the headliners are gone. And
it's very few and far, man.
Yeah, dude.
Especially for this genre of music,
We're still very far away from that, but it's just an honor to hear somebody like that say that.
Absolutely.
So
then your next album is Power Under Control, right?
Yeah.
I love this album cover. It's cool, man. How did you figure out that? Like, how'd you come up with that?
That's funny too. Okay, first of all, going back to this one, I took this. This was an Instagram picture. I snapped it. We were going. This is San Diego. We were going to Coronado Island to have lunch, and we couldn't decide on an album cover. And I was just like, I've got this picture, and we'll just throw our name on the top of it. And then when we came to this one, we couldn't figure out what we wanted either. We had all these weird ideas, and finally we were like, let's just pick something that looks good as a thumbnail. And I went online and I typed in the word pink skull, and I found this lady on Etsy that creates all these pink skulls by hand, and she had made this one. So I made like a quick little test version of it or whatever on my phone. I've still got it on my phone. It looks whack, but it looks just like the same idea. And my brother, he's the one that put the words right here, but everything else that was.
So all your album covers are pretty low budget. It's not like
Yeah, dude.
That's cool. They
honestly,
all look good, right?
I don't see why people spend money that they do on certain things, like certain aspects, because I'm like, as far as an album cover, it's just a picture, and you hire out all these people, and they come in and they're like, here's a picture I had laying at my grandma's house. It's gonna be your album cover. It's like, I've got pictures at my grandma's house. Like,
you could go like Metallica around the Black Album, just have a completely black album.
Yeah, and that's what I think, and that's why we did this, because when you do look at it on iTunes or whatever, it's like, oh, it's all white, and there's one pink dot in the middle. It's a skull. So we purchased that skull, and we covered it in water to make it look like it was all sweaty, and took a picture of it.
Your first single, your first single off this was "Darkness." Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's an awesome song, man. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, it's very catchy and.
The whole album, we actually when we were writing the album, we kind of put ourselves in a really weird spot mentally. We watched The Shining, and we started getting into like a lot of Stanley Kubrick films and like his ideas of putting kind of like hidden messages in his movies.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We just ate a bunch of chicken wings just for all the viewers out there. Anyways,
all good.
So we had started watching all these movies by Stanley Kubrick, and we were noticing that we were like, man, like we should put like messages and stuff in our record. And we had already been talking about making the album kind of like this idea of like somebody finding an old tape recorder in the woods, and you turn it on, and it's like all this demonic noises and stuff. And I remember that was where the first ideas came for like starting to do like the song "Darkness," because the song sounds kind of evil, and like lyrically it's really evil. And what we did was we wrote basically a book. So you can't have one song without the other on that record. Each one is a response to the song prior to it.
Oh, that's cool. Like concept.
Yeah, it's a total concept album. And the song "Darkness" is the character that I'm playing, speaking and saying like, I'm into all these things, and there's nothing you're gonna like do about it. You can't change anything about me.
And then your next song right after is "Bad Guy."
Yeah, well, let me remind myself because it's been a second.
Right, is it "Bad Guy"? Am I right?
Yeah, it's "Bad
cool.
Guy," and
cool.
That idea is it's just kind of coming from the spot of a lot of times in our lives. From what I've noticed is anytime somebody's got good advice for somebody wanting to live like hell, the person living like hell is like, get out of my life, and all they want to push them away. And I'm like, that person's always playing the bad guy, like the person that says what's really going on. And that's why they say, this is something I don't want to say, but I'm going to say it, and you better believe it. That's really the good guy. So that character is like the response to this character here. Green Slime Man is supposed to be like just kind of like a snarl. That person's kind of being like, like.
Oh, is that why you wrote that? I see.
Yeah, it was like.
Because it's under like a minute-long song or something.
Yeah, we didn't even. What we did when we wrote the lyrics, or when we wrote the song, we were just like, okay, you guys go in there and just play like a punk riff or whatever, and they did that. And the producer, he told me, he's like, Mikey, don't even write lyrics to it. Just and he found this picture in the studio, this painting somebody had done, and he said, I just want you to describe this painting. And I'm gonna hit record, and like you just describe the painting over the song. So like all I'm doing is I'm describing all this stuff I'm seeing in this crazy painting. There was this dude covered in slime, some dude wearing a toboggan on his face, and just all this stuff. One dude he looked like our friend Ryan Reese, but it was like a distorted version of this. Like he's from the Whosoevers or whatever, and I said his name. I was like, I see you, Ryan. And then like there was a chef, and I said, I see a chef or whatever. And so I just described this whole painting. And
I know you're talking about Ryan, the long hair.
Yeah, dude. I know he is. So that song is just me describing that. He hit record, we got it, and that was it. So
that's a good story, man.
Yeah.
I really like. I kind of want to talk about "Better Day" on there.
Yeah.
That's probably one of my favorite songs, man. It's very uplifting, you know.
Dude, yeah, it was. Our bass player at the time, his friend. Sadly committed suicide while we were in the studio, and that was a really, really rough moment for him. And we were all going through different struggles financially, some stuff with the label, stuff in our personal lives, just everything. And that song, like that was where we were at, because I told you we wrote them all in order. That was kind of where we were at in the writing process. So it worked out perfect because it was telling this person that was in the darkness what it was. Like, man, you've been waiting for a better day, because obviously you don't know what's good in the world. And we were waiting for a better day, so we kind of wrote that song to us.
Right.
And so.
Do those lyrics come very easy to you, man? Because it's, I mean, I keep hitting those lyrics because they're
Yeah.
so tight, man. It's like you spend a lot of time on each like verse. Like
Dude, I
each line is
appreciate it.
really good.
Yeah, I feel like if you can pack a punch with just a sentence, you know, that's being a good writer.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm there completely yet, but I know that I strive to be. And the lyrics are one of the most important parts of the music for me. I mean, as the vocalist and somebody that writes, you know, our own songs, most bands write. They have writers come in now. They don't write. They have writers come in, and for us, we always write our own stuff. And everybody always asks us in the industry, they're like, who helped you write? And I'm like, us.
That's
like,
a compliment, man.
So yeah, I appreciate that.
No problem, man. I definitely want to talk about Think About It because I'm a Bad Brains fan. I love Bad Brains.
Think it over.
Think it over. I'm sorry. Think
No,
about
it's
it.
okay. Think about it. Think it over.
Think it over.
It's the same thing. Maybe we should name it that.
Not bad.
No,
but
it's
I'm a
cool.
big Bad Brains fan. I love HR, man. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
dude.
Did you actually get to work with them in the studio? Or?
No, what we did, going back to the Pains record, we had bought him this microphone, and we were going to send it. We sent it to him, actually. We sent it to the drummer of his solo band, and he was going to fly out to California and do some shows, and he was going to record the vocals for Lucky Rabbit. And he actually ended up skipping his flight because he wanted to do guest vocals on a song with Fishbone one night. So he stayed home, and he did the song with Fishbone. And he missed the flight, he missed doing the recording, and we'd already bought this $400 mic and stuff. So I hit up his friend that was in his band with him, and I was like, hey, do you think you'd be down with, I found this app on my phone where I can record your voice on the phone. And he was like, yeah, let me ask him. So then he called me back. He's like, HR told you, said call him. So I called HR, and we talked about it for a few days. He went and listened to the song, and then I called him again one day randomly, and he was ready. He's like, yeah, let's do it now. Oh, cool. So he recorded all the vocals right there, and we kind of chopped it up almost like it was more like a hip-hop sample. So we chopped it up, and we sent it back to him, and he thought it was cool. And I remember when he said, he didn't say it was good or bad. All he said, he goes, your creativity gets an A+. And I was just like, that's the sickest compliment to me. So, yeah, we did that song with him, so we knew, we were like, man, like now that we have, like, we can put out like a real record or whatever, like we want to get HR on a song that more people notice, because that was more like the underground whatever, and this is more like a mainstream release.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
so
and you made a sick video too. I really like
dude,
that video.
I appreciate it.
I like how you guys make so many videos, man. That's really cool.
Dude, you have to nowadays.
Yeah.
Everything's switched over to like a Twitter mindset, a digital culture, you know, so you have to constantly give content.
Definitely.
You know, so but HR, we called him actually. He didn't come out to the studio because he wasn't feeling well at the time either. But we called him, we sent him the song, and kind of went through the whole thing again. But this time, what we did that was different. Instead of just recording him on the phone, like a phone call recording, we actually held the microphone up to the we held the phone up to the microphone, and we let him do all the vocals like that.
Really?
Yeah. So that is crazy. That was
man.
sick, dude. So he killed it.
You should have filmed that, man.
And then at the end of it, I asked him. I said, "Hey, is there anything else you want to tell the youth of today?" He said, "Nope, not really." And I was just like, "Dude, this is freaking HR of Bad Brains. Like, he's a legend.
Yeah.
He's been so great to us, and we're just we have nothing but love for him."
Really?
So
that's awesome, man.
That's
so from there, man, you kind of, how long of a little gap you took before Summer? Summer's your new song, which is awesome. Did you guys take a long break between there? Is that a couple of years or?
No, it was Power Under Control came out last summer.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It just hit the month mark a few weeks ago, I think, and we did Summer in, I think, May of this year, and we did another song called Heartbeat of a Punk. But basically what had happened was in December we were on tour, and we were just having conversations like bands do, and we realized that everybody was kind of going separate ways in their life. So JR, our guitar player, he had been doing this since he was 15, touring with bands and whatnot. He was in another band with Head from Korn and
Yeah, I've
and all
recognized
that.
him.
Yeah, so he was like, I just just want to go get a normal job, and I don't want to be on the road like this anymore. Zeke, our bass player at the time, he's having a third baby, and financially and everything, it just didn't make any sense to be out there hustling like we were doing. And Aaron had just had a baby as well, our drummer, and it was just kind of like this huge moment of like, well, I'm sticking. I was like, well, I'm sticking around now. At first, I didn't know if I was sticking around. Actually, I felt weird because I was like, well, since I'm the only one that left, I don't want people to be like, man, Mikey, man, he must be terrible or whatever. So I was thinking maybe I should leave too. So I had been talking to Austin Carlisle from Of Mice and Men at the time, and I was just like, I knew he was about to step down, and I was good friends with him, and I was like, maybe I should go sing for Of Mice and Men. I don't know. And then I called him, and I talked to him for like an hour and a half on the phone, and we were just like venting to each other about our personal struggles and whatnot. And he was actually the first person to encourage me and be like, dude, like, Islander's one of my favorite bands. And he was like, I don't want to see you give it up. And just, and it wasn't because I was talking about, would you want me to take your spot in Mice and Men because he was leaving or whatever. He was like, you can totally go for that if you want. But he was like, I love Islander. And he was like, I'll come play bass for you while you're looking for people or whatever. And I'm just like, I didn't even know you played bass. And but I mean, we never had to get to do that or whatever because I ended up finding some people. But the guys were cool about it. They kept touring with me in the meantime so that I could find new people. So they were helping me find people as they were exiting. And we ended up, instead of like telling our fans, like, so sometimes people are like, why didn't you tell us week of? And it's like, well, like, we didn't want everybody to freak out. We don't want the industry to freak out. We don't want our fans to freak out. We don't want to freak out because it's such a huge decision.
Are you guys still with Victory Records at this time?
Oh yeah, at this time we were still with Victory Records, and the label, they were fine with it or whatever. They were just kind of like, whatever. Mikey's been the key member of this whole time, the sole like guy that's been in the band because we've been through different lineup changes, and that's when we came up with the idea to hire on Nathan Mowry to shoot our music video for Casket, because we were like, what if in the video we have me burying their bodies like they were all dead, so it kind of gives like an artistic storyline to them quitting the band. And the guys were all like, dude, like, that's how I want to go out. So they were all cool with it. So we did that, put the video out, and then
where'd you guys film that video, man?
I think it was in Florida.
Oh, was it?
I think. Yeah, it was in Florida. It was on NASA's property.
Oh.
And we didn't realize it at the time, really, until we started seeing signs or whatever. We were like, it says we're on NASA's property. It says, don't do things like this here. Don't dig holes and bury bodies. But this helicopter flew over, stopped, and looked at us, and we're just like, hurry up. Our tour manager's like, y'all need to hurry up and get this video done. Because we were like waiting for the cops to pull up and be like, you can't do this. We're like, we're almost got it. So we did that, and then we shot in a few other locations and got the video.
It's cool,
done.
and it's in black and white too, so it kind of adds to the.
Yeah, it's there's no performance footage in it really, or it's just kind of like, why is Mikey burying his bandmates or whatever? And then at the end, like, there's this weird creature standing in front of me, and I catch on fire, and I get to be the evil guy everybody thinks I am. So, yeah.
That's funny.
But
man.
yeah, it was cool, man. It was all positive and all love switching out. But so yeah, I found these new guys. One of them, Andrew, the drummer, I had known him from my hometown. The guitar player, I found him on Facebook.
Oh,
That's
really?
what people do these days. And the bass player was he's a merch guy for another band that we were friends with. We didn't even know he played bass. We're like, so this sick bass player's been sitting behind a merch table this whole time for our friends. And
so you didn't have these long, drawn out like rehearsals, or not rehearsals, but you just kind of got your friends together and people you knew who could play.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. Because I mean, I know what Islander is supposed to be and kind of be like, and I've always been, kind of the face of Islander or whatever you want to call it. And I knew what I was going for, and I didn't know if it was going to be like this quick to find people or whatever, but it just worked out. And
where's the future for you guys now, man, going forward from all this?
right now, well, before I say that, we also added my brother on keyboards and backup vocals. On past records, like the Violence and Destruction record, he actually was like the co-producer, and he's always been in the studio with us and kind of been like an invisible member already. He's been like backup vocals on records and stuff, doing harmonies, and we were like, this just makes sense. You need to be on the stage.
Yeah.
So we added him to the band. And as far as the future, we've just been touring ever since after all those changes, we jumped straight on tour with Korn again.
Oh, cool.
Stone Sour, Baby Metal, and Yellow Wolf.
Wow.
We just got off a full U.S. run. We went to Canada as well. Right now, the future of the band is just putting out more music. Right now, we're writing and recording some new songs. We have some stuff already recorded that we did that was supposed to come out on the label, but that was another thing that happened. We had sent them some songs and they were going to put them out, and then something happened where they didn't want to put them out. And you know, a lot of bands don't have a good relationship with our former record label, and I'm not going to sit here and comment on how our relationship was or wasn't with them, but as far as I'm concerned, I want to have integrity with it and just say that it was best for us to be off the label, and it was best for them to have us off the label, I believe.
It's kind of a mutual thing?
Yeah, it was mutual because we weren't really seeing eye to eye artistically, financially, for the future of the band, anything. It just kind of turned into a relationship where it was like, we want to do something you don't want to do, vice versa. It just kept on, and it was like we hit a wall, and it was like, we were like, can we leave? So,
well, that's good you got out easy.
yeah, absolutely, and that's pretty unheard of, and we're thankful for the people that were there that did work hard for us, and for people that have supported us during that time. But we're super stoked on being free agents right now. We've been entertaining different contracts, different labels, even the idea of just continuing to be independent. Like, we're just trying to figure out where we fit in that whole world. And right now, our new single Summer just hit
awesome.
radio without any record label support, which we didn't know if it was going to be possible. But over the years, I've kept contacts with all the radio stations we visited, and just everyone. I've always tried to build a relationship with people rather than just walk through the industry and let people do it for me. I've always believed in building relationships.
Yeah.
So, we're just stoked to put out new music, keep touring. We're looking at staying really busy on the road next year, in 2018.
That's awesome, man.
So,
Well, man, I appreciate you being here, brother.
dude, thanks for having me, man.
Thank you, man.
So I get in bed.